Merging together traditional jigsaw puzzling with thoughtful and emotive storytelling is Emerge, the latest game from Krish Rikuma, the man behind Plane, the meditative game that came out a few years ago, which I absolutely love. Emerge is much more of a traditional game, and it's heavily inspired by jigsaw puzzles, and it's all about Maya, an 80-year-old lady who is going through brain change and brain failure. And so she's losing her memories and her cognition, and is struggling to remember her life because she's kind of got it all mixed up. And this is where the jigsaw puzzles come in. There are 17 chapters in this game, each one with a heavily distorted, refracted, decolorized and kind of spooked out and warped image that, as you kind of work out how to put all of these different jigsaw pieces back in together, will reveal an equally quite abstract and off-the-wall picture behind the scenes that merges together some really nice key moments in Maya's life, but they're kind of surrealist because, like, fish will be swimming in the background as you kind of lay on the sofa, or you'll be having some kind of walking as a family with your child, but you'll be going through an open door in the middle of a street, for example. They're kind of a little bit odd. And so all of this kind of combines together to make this one of the more difficult and taxing jigsaw puzzles to put together, when it's essentially pick the square, rotate it in the right place and slot it in together, and you'd hope that that would work. Every time you complete a level, it unlocks the full picture, which then goes into a kind of diary book, and it also unlocks several memories that then tells Maya's life over time. As you do the jigsaw puzzles, you have 3 different power-ups that can help you. The first reorientates your current selection to the right orientation, so you can just slot it in the right place. The second will give you a selection of different slots where this square could go, for you to then work out what the right run is. And the third one gives you just one option, and you just have to reorientate it and slot it in the right place. The orientation of things is what makes Emerge hard for me on top of everything else, because you aren't just being given very clear direction on where something could be slotted in. You've got to keep rotating and spinning things around and going, does that go there? And because everything is recoloured or murky or kind of watercoloured in a way and refracted through a lens, it's really difficult sometimes to work out what's going on, particularly on some of the puzzles where there's lots of light, because it just becomes big white bursts into the square and you're thinking, where does this go? And so those power-ups will help. The last thing to consider is flow state, which is essentially a combo meter in Emerge. So if you're able to drop multiple things in quickly, you'll then get a combo meter for your score. But your score isn't just points, they're called memory shards. And what you use those for is to buy different objects in Maya's room to repopulate her world and recolour it again. And so you'll get wallpaper, you'll get books, you'll get cabinets, you'll get photo frames and pot plants and other little memories that will bring Maya's memories kind of to life around her again in a positive way. And what these do are help either extend the flow state so that you can get a bigger, longer combo, or they will give you more shards and therefore more points for every time you slot something in the jigsaw puzzle back in together. You can also choose to invest in portraits and photo frames of members of your family, which relate to the power-ups that I mentioned earlier, which will give them a faster cooldown. All of this comes together with a fascinating story that is more than the sum of its parts, because from a gameplay perspective, this is just a very tricky jigsaw puzzle, and that will sustain many people. But for me, this made much more of an emotional impact, because as someone that lost their dad to a collection of different ailments, but dementia was part of it, and having to go on that journey, there's no real happy days in that experience at all. And so trying to give some, not levity, but positivity to moments of joy where actually there are flashes of clarity and that person's back with you again is really what Emerge tries to bring to the table. And I think it does it in a really interesting way. And as someone who is kind of pulling together a memento of all the different stages of my parents' life at the moment, it kind of rang true and home to me from that perspective too. My only critique from Emerge, and there's 2 of them, the first one is that sometimes the colorization of things is really difficult to discern what is the original image and what is the distorted one that you're laying in over the top to unlock the original image on a couple of the puzzles. And the second thing, and it might be more to do with my mouse than anything else, when you have to rotate round a square, you have to use the mouse wheel to do it, and there's no way to rebind any of the keys. And it felt really overly sensitive, and I was getting a bit frustrated trying to get it in the right place, and it was costing me my combo meter. And so having the ability to potentially rebind that to a rotate button on my keyboard would solve a multitude of sins. So yeah. It might just be a jigsaw puzzle, but actually it sticks the landing far harder and heavier than most other games ever get the chance to. And so that's why I give Emerge a hearty thumbs up.